Here's the 1978 Mercury Grand Marquis. The Grand Marquis has been out of commission for a while because I couldn't put the windows down, and if I was going to drive it I wouldn't be able to open and close the windows. It's got power windows, and the problem was that there was a short in one of the circuits here, caused me to be able to not to be able to put the windows down. In order to find the short, I've got a 12-volt test lamp here. And the way I'm using the test lamp is to connect it across the circuit. I've got one end of the test lamp hooked up here to one end of a good fuse. The other end of the test lamp goes to where the fuse would have gone. So this is just like the test lamp setup I use for checking 110-volt electronics for a short. If there's a short, the light will light up, and you won't have any damage because the lamp will take the current. Now, let me go ahead and get inside first, and I'll show you where I found the short to be. I've got the radio and the heater controls disconnected here, and I figured there was a problem with a relay because I heard a relay click when I would get in the car and turn it on, but I wasn't hearing that click. So when the short occurred and it kept blowing fuses, there's a relay right back in here. It's all the way behind the radio, and I was hearing the relay click, and I was looking and looking underneath the dashboard to try to find it, and I never could find it because I figured that might be where the problem is. And the fuse where the suspect circuit is controls an accessory circuit which, among other things, operates the power door lock or the power trunk release. The door locks inside the car actually on a separate circuit. And also I had it hooked up to feed the voltmeter, and since the car hasn't been driven in a long time, the battery voltage is pretty puny, but there's still enough for test purposes. Watch what happens when I plug in this relay. Let me see if I can get it plugged in here. I'll turn the camera off and plug it in and demonstrate what it looks like when there's a short. Now you can see the test lamp is glowing. And I think what's happening is there's a partial short in the relay coil in that relay. The purpose of the relay is to switch 12-volt DC into the power window circuits. And I'm not really sure why they used a relay for that. The relay gets its power from this other auxiliary circuit. But see, I'm going to remove the relay connector now, and the short disappears. And also what I did to test the power window circuitry was to use an alligator clip lead to complete the circuit which would have been switched by the relay terminals. And when I do that, I'm able to put the windows up and down. Now I've got the alligator clip lead in completing the power window circuit, and you can see the windows go up and down now. And the trunk release should work now that I cleared that short. It looks like I've got about 11 volts. See if the trunk release works here. Yeah, it does. So I think what I'm going to need to do is to go and get a new 12-volt relay for that circuit. And while I got the Philco radio out, I'm going to replace all the capacitors in it. And I'm going to disconnect this electric clock, see if I can get it lubricated and get it going again. So I'll be able to take care of several problems. The radio does work, but the sound isn't very, very good. I'm sure sitting for more than 30 years in the West Texas hot sun didn't do anything good for those electrolytics. And I'll just get the heater controls put back in there eventually. I'm going to see if I can start up the Grand Marquis sometime here. I don't think I got enough juice in the battery to do it now. But finally I got the problem figured out, and the Grand Marquis will be back on the road here sometime soon. Just one more comment I've got on this, and I figured out now the purpose for the relay. This circuit is always hot from the fuse box. And see, there's no key in the ignition switch, and the power windows are functional. So I'm thinking that the purpose of the relay is to enable or disable the power window circuit, so all that power window current doesn't end up flowing through the ignition switch. I guess the ignition switch can only handle so much current, and the power window load would have been more than it could handle with everything else that goes through it. So a new switch ought to get the Grand Marquis, or new relay ought to get the Grand Marquis going again.